In Chapter 7.3, we're talking about independent and dependent events. Our objectives are to determine whether events are independent or dependent and to find the probability of independent and dependent events. Events that are independent events if the occurrence of one event does not affect the probability of the other one. So independent, one event does not affect the probability of the other one. And the formula that you need to know is if A and B are independent events, then the probability of A and B both occurring is the probability of A times the probability of B. Instead of seeing and, you may see the probability of A intersect B. This little symbol means and. It's the same thing, the probability of A happening times the probability of B happening. Events are dependent events if the occurrence of one event does affect the probability of the other. For an example, suppose that there are 2 lemons and a lime in a bag. If you pull out 2 pieces of fruit, the probability changes depending on the outcome of what the first one was. To find the probability of dependent events, you can use conditional probability, and this is the probability of event B given that event A has occurred. So the probability of event B given that event A has occurred. So if you have dependent events, the probability of a dependent event of probability of A and B, it looks the same as independent, but to find the probability of 2 dependent events, you have the probability of A and B equals the probability of the first thing happening, the first event happening, times the probability of the second event happening given that that first event did occur. So the probability of A and B is the probability of event A happening times the probability of event B happening given that event A did occur. So let's talk about finding the probability of independent events. Now, on your note-taking guide, this spinner, on the PowerPoint, the spinner is in color, and I've labeled what the colors are. The darker ones are the blue, and then you've got like a darker gray and a lighter gray, and I've labeled what they are. So when you get your note-taking guide, go in and label your little slices so you'll know that you have red, blue, green, red, blue, green, blue, green. And then the numbers, of course, you can tell what those numbers are. So finding the probability of event A, or part A, we want to find the probability of spinning a 4 and then spinning a 4 again on the spinner. Well, if you spin a 4 and then you turn around and try to spin another 4, the probability of this second 4 happening has nothing to do with what happened with this first one. So these are independent of each other. So to find the probability of spinning a 4 and then a 4 again, write down your terminology, write it how, so you know when you read this line right here what you're looking for. So I'm going to do the probability of spinning a 4 and then 4 again. These are independent of each other, so the 2 events are, I have the probability of spinning a 4 times, and then I want the probability of spinning a 4. Well, the probability of spinning a 4 is come over here to your spinner, and you have 1, 2, 3 4s. So I have the probability of spinning 3 out of a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces on that spinner. So the probability of spinning a 4 is 3 out of 8 times the probability of spinning a second 4 is 3 out of 8. Multiply those together and that gets you your probability, which is 9 out of 64. Let me find a calculator. Let's go, on this lesson we're going to do decimal places. I want to round to 3 decimal places. On your calculator, when you get a calculator, for the graphing calculators, go to Mode and go down to Float, and you can float it, and then I'm going to clear it off, and I'm going to do 9 divided by 64, and round to 3 decimal places. That's 0.141. 0.141, and we are approximating, so 0.141. Make sure that you know how to fix your calculator. So go to Mode, You can float, and it'll show you several decimal places, or you can do 0, 1, 2, 3 decimal places, and I'm going to hit enter and clear. I'll do 9 divided by 64 again, and it automatically fixes it for me to 3 decimal places. So 0.141. Everything we're going to round to 3 decimal places. Part B, spinning. We want the probability of spinning a red, then a green, and then a red on the spinner. So the probability of spinning red, then green, then red. So these are independent of each other. So do the probability of spinning a red times the probability of spinning a green times the probability of spinning a red, and then find each one of those probabilities and multiply them together. So the probability of spinning a red, that's why I labeled these over here so we would know which one was red, green, and blue. So there are 2 reds out of 8 times probability of green is 1, 2, 3 greens out of 8 times the probability of red, again, is 2 out of 8. You can reduce those fractions and multiply, or you can just multiply straight across and then give me a decimal. So I have 12 out of 8 times 8 times 8 is 512. I'm going to put that in my calculator. 12 divided by 512 is approximately 0.023. All right, now we're going to talk about the probability of independent or dependent events, the probability of finding dependent events. 2 number cubes are rolled, 1 red and 1 blue. Explain why the events are dependent, then find the indicated probability. I think I'm going to stop this video right here, and I'll pick up dependent on the next one.